This is my HP 16500B, and it is not the HP 16500C that I reviewed a long time ago. This is a new unit that I acquired because, well, it comes with the, I'll reread the name here, the HP Testmobile. That's the single greatest product name of all time. But this is another HP logic analyzer, and I need to video mod this one to get the ability to capture it. Now, I already know that it is possible because I have VGA modded my HP 16500C, but I didn't really make a video about that. I recorded some of it, but I wasn't really happy with how it turned out. So today we're going to redo that project with the 16500B and see how it turns out. Now, the Testmobile is meant to be a super handy way of maneuvering this around. It's on wheels, and I can pull this to release this, to put it at different angles. And the idea is that I can wheel this up to my workbench and have this not taking up space there. And that kind of becomes necessary because the probes that go to this are extremely short because they connect to the back. It's a very weird design. So the Testmobile ends up being the best possible way to use this thing. But I need to take it off for now. So I need to undo the weird belt mechanism, and then I need to undo some cables. Also disconnect the keyboard, which is HPIL, and that's super cool. This is the only HPIL device that I own. And now we can move this to the workbench. Oh, it's still very heavy. Oh. Yeah. Make my life a little bit easier here for a moment. So on the back of the unit, we have the power connector, and then we have all of the cards. And we're going to go ahead and remove the logic analyzer cards in this because the cables are hard mounted and I don't want to damage them by moving them around too much. So it's time to remove these, which I haven't actually done on this one yet. All right, to get these out, which these are super ridiculously tight, I'm gonna remove the fan cage, which I wasn't planning on doing yet, but we are going to do that because that's kind of the easiest way to sneak the VGA cable that we're going to add to this out of the unit, because we can kind of sandwich it in there. And there we are. Now these are just monster fans. Look at that 3-blade nightmare right there, serrated so that the fingers get chopped off extra. Those are not metal, but they are sharp. Holy moly. All right, now I can reach these. Now that I think about it, I think these interlock. Holy moly, I didn't realize there was a whole tray. Why, HP? So there's a lip here, and then there's a ridge here, let's say. This goes on top of this on the other side. So in order to remove those bottom two cards, I have to remove all of the filler plates. I don't know why it's a whole drawer, though. That's insane. I swear the other ones are not a whole drawer in the seat. Ugh. This is one of those things that really sucks about working on these. There are a bunch of ribbon cables under on the bottom, and these boards are just gonna scrape across them as I pull them out. There's not really anything I can do. Even if I remove the bottom panel, if I remember correctly, there's a logic board that goes the whole way across, but I'll check just to be sure in case I can alleviate this somewhat. But the ones on my C are all torn up because of this. The good news is these panels are extremely easy to remove. If I remember right, it's just one screw and then it pops off, although I may have to remove these feet. I don't think my other one had the feet. And then maybe if I'm lucky, I can get to those cables. Oh, there's so much sawdust in here, and no, I cannot get to the cables. Wow. I am going to be vacuuming this thing, though, to get all of the sawdust that's in here out. Why is there so much sawdust in here? All right, well, there are the timing cards. I'm gonna get these out of here so that they're safe. And after a bunch of fighting with it, I have all of the side panels off. The top one was stuck for some reason. My best guess is that the grounding connection up front was grabbing on a little tighter than it should have. But now we can see all the sides here. And if I remember correctly, that might be the video connector. Could also be that. I think at this point, we're gonna have to tear into this a little bit more to figure that out. So I will see if I can find some service documents about this. It's probably this video connection because that's only 4 pins, and we have RGB and HV coming off of this Sony monitor module. So yeah, I think it's gonna be that one, and I just need to remember and re-find what the pins are on that equal the VGA signal. There are a couple of things I need to interject with here because I ended up not covering them as well with the 16500B mod because I had already talked about it with the 16500C. So first, the 16500C uses a standard off-the-shelf Sony Trinitron display module that just takes horizontal sync, vertical sync, and RGB video inputs. The original reason that I was inspired to modify my C with VGA out was because of a Hackaday article where someone took the monitor out of a 16500A and then used it in the opposite direction to feed video into the monitor. This told me that the video signals were at least close enough to VGA that I could probably capture it. I ended up measuring everything with an oscilloscope just to make sure that it was all close enough, and it definitely was. Now, there was an additional problem that I ran into with my version of the project because the video source needs to be 75 ohm terminated to work correctly. When I tried to just split the video passively, it ended up being too dim and not working out. So I ended up incorporating an actual VGA splitter into the machine in order to properly amplify and split the signal. I was going to repeat that this time, but in the end, I decided to change how I was working with the machine and wanted it to be a completely reversible modification. So instead of mounting the splitter internally, I was going to mount it externally by the end of this. Also, this time around, I already knew that all of the voltage levels were VGA compatible, so I didn't have to worry as much about that. So all I needed to do was just remind myself what the actual VGA pinouts were. All right, after a ton of research and finding out that there were actually variants of these that just have external video out connectors due to a board that could be optioned into this thing, I've determined this is the video output connector. This cable is kind of weird. This goes to this giant IDC connector here, but it's just a tiny cable and they split out all of the wires to go where they need to. Then it goes to this, which is the video output from the main board. So what we need to do is we need to make a cable or connect to this somehow in a way where we can output this into the VGA splitter that I have. And then we connect this to the VGA splitter on one output, and then we can use the other output from the splitter to go to an externally available VGA port. Looking at this port is hilarious because there's only actually signals here, 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 and here. And you know what? B, G, R, H, V. That couldn't be much easier. All right, after a little bit of probing, I have the pinout of the video connector down here, and I have gone ahead and added that to my wiki, and I'll link that down below if you want to know how to use this, because this is essentially going to be a VGA output. What I think I'm actually going to do here is just make an adapter to go directly from this connector to VGA out, and then we can just plug that straight into the splitter that we're going to use. And then I'll make an adapter to plug this into a VGA port as well, I guess. And then we'll just make everything internally VGA, which is going to make a whole lot more sense than what I did with the 16500C, where I'm pretty sure I soldered to this for some reason and then ran wires and I'm not sure what I did with that, why I was thinking the way I did. So we're just going to make adapters to make everything VGA internally since I have connectors for it now. So that's going to be a lot more sane. All right, I'm getting to crimp my first IDC cable with my new crimp tool, and I'm excited. So I put a little keyed thing right there, and then it holds it down, and then, oh my gosh, that's so nice. That's awesome. This was worth it. I have successfully made the cable that can output VGA from the logic board here. So what I'm going to do now is reach in here and unplug the video connector that goes to the CRT. And I'm going to plug my connector into that. And then we will be able to plug this into one of my video capture devices and test that this works. All right, we're going to go ahead and test that this setup works. I have the VGA splitter open now. So here it is. I didn't get it with a power supply. That's fine. It says it's 12 volt. It even has, wow, crazy for a cheap piece of garbage. It actually has the polarity labeled on it. Wild. I'm going to plug the video output into capture card, then plug the video input into the logic analyzer here. You know what? Let's just real quick, just check that the pinout makes sense. Check, check, check. And then this should be, and then this should be. Yeah, that's all looking good. Okay. All right, now we'll plug that in. Oh. No, that's fine. There's a separate power switch on the front. Well, that went well. Can't ask for much more than that. Okay. So, yeah, all we do now is just build the second cable to connect the CRT to the VGA splitter, and then we're golden.
I actually ended up needing to make 2 more cables because I forgot I wanted to tap off power from the internal power supply for the VGA splitter. I also had to wait on an order for male IDC crimp connectors so that I could make a cable that plugs into the internal monitor. After that, I took a small Molex power splitter and added a 5.5mm barrel jack coming off of the 12 volt lines on that. That would allow me to cleanly steal 12 volts from the hard drive connection without needing to modify anything else.
All right, I've made this cable previously, and I just finished up these 2 cables. So we have this one that goes from the main board to the VGA splitter. And then we have this one that goes from the VGA splitter back to the CRT. And then this one, which goes in between the hard drive and the splitter to provide power to the splitter. So that should be everything I need to have video out from this machine and have the internal CRT work. So now I'm going to try and hook it all up, test that it works, and that we can capture it while sending video to the internal display. And then I'll figure out how I'm going to mount this, which is a different problem. I'm going to plug this in here. And then kind of push that up and off to the side. And then try and jam that. Oh, that'll fit just fine. It didn't even need to be right angle. Boom. That should be the hard drive and the splitter powered. Okay, pin 1. Well, it's keyed. It can't go in the wrong way. There we go. That's the output. I'll just connect this here for now on the outside because that goes up to the CRT. And then this can go to one of the outputs on the splitter. So we have the input coming from the logic board, power coming from the hard drive, and then going back out to the CRT there. If I plug this in and turn it on, we should see video on the CRT. And if I plug this in, I should be able to capture as well. So let's make sure that all works. Here is power and turning it on. Please don't kill it. I heard the CRT fire up. It's working just fine. There we go. Internal CRT all working well. And then if I switch my capture setup, there we go. Capture of the HP16 500B with video out. Alrighty. So now all I need to do is figure out how I'm going to cleanly integrate the VGA splitter, and we are home free. I was just inadvertently given a different suggestion in that I don't take this PCB out, because what I could do instead, I could route all of these cables out here, and then I could just have the VGA splitter like right there. Something that didn't occur to me until just now. I have both video cables plugged in, but I put the loop over connector on the video cable there so that the cable is extra secure, but that makes it taller than every single other connector here, and I guarantee you it will rub against the card that goes in the slot right here. That is too close. The ribbon cables themselves that stick down in this area rub up against it. So that's going to be too much. I have to take this connector back out. I have to remove that top clip, and then that's going to have to be good enough. Thankfully, that means that the cable will poke out towards the side where I was feeding it anyway. So I'll actually manage better that way. But I didn't think it would be required due to the height of the connector. Because, yeah, that's much taller than all of the other ones in here. Okay, now with the cables routed out, I can put the fan back. So let me plug this in. Not lining up with the existing screw holes. Does this not go the direction I thought it did? Does this go this way? It goes that way. I need these to come out that side. That complicates things. You know what? Real quick. Out. In. That way I know which one is which. Now let me see if I have some washers I can put on there to space it out just a little bit. Oh, that worked beautifully. And now, because this tape is slightly used, it will just peel right off. With the washers, this now has enough slack. Even if I fully tighten this, I mean, the power cable is a little tight, but those, yeah. I can do input to here, power, and output. Boom. All right there. This can rest down on the table behind the unit as well. All right, I figured before I got all the cards in the B that I would go over a comparison with the C one last time here and explain a couple of things. So, for one, it does feel a little weird to not mount the VGA splitter internally, but no matter what, I was going to have a VGA cable dangling out of the machine. The solution I came up with for the C is to have this one that mounts here, but you can see that the connector is actually becoming distressed and pulling out of here. I need to take this apart and fix that now because it's just not that clean to be able to mount something like this. There's no good way of doing it. The only way I could make it mount extremely cleanly would be to drill a hole somewhere in here and have it be a panel mount that screws directly to the chassis. And there's really nowhere great to do that on this. And if I outfit the B with cards like I have the C here, it's not going to have space in the card cage. So I would like to expand the B to have analog inputs like the C does here. So I may do that. So I don't want to build myself into a situation where I have the VGA splitter in that area. So it comes down to, unfortunately, no matter what, there's going to be cables dangling out of it. And having them dangle out like that in such a way where I can just externally mount the splitter, it solves a handful of problems all at once. So this doesn't seem like a particularly elegant solution, but it's about the best I can do. All right, now for the final install, the two logic cards. And I speculated this when I was removing them, but I was correct. They do have a shared clock cable, so they are connected. Oh, they're connected here as well. So I have to put these both in at the same time and manage all of this at once. So this is not a trivial task. Oh my gosh. Oh, it always feels so bad to install or remove these. The HP did not do a good job of leaving clearance for the stuff in this. All right. I think that's it. I think it's done. So I'm going to go ahead and flip it around here and then connect the VGA splitter and capture, and we'll see if it works now that it's all back together, and check out what we can do with this thing with video capture. All right, here we go. There's video routed back into it and simultaneous capture. And now we can see we have some data here. I can reload these and we can look at some of the signals that I had previously analyzed. So if I do this, load, execute, now we have to wait a bit because this is not a fast machine. Let's go to the logic sample here, and let's go to the waveform. And there we go. That is data that I acquired during the Micronova diagnostics. I don't remember what I was exactly doing here, but I can zoom in and we can see some stuff and we can pan around. And yeah, this is a phenomenally useful machine. I would try and set it up and demonstrate it for you, but if you look over here on the side, you can see all of these labeled signals and the address data and that kind of stuff. Oh, I know exactly what we were seeing here now. This is when I found out one of the memory buffer chips was dead, because you can see address line 5 here is not connected. Yeah, that was what it was. That was what this test showed. So it takes a lot of time and effort to set up a logic analysis test like this, because you're basically creating like an API unit test. You have to know what your inputs and outputs are. You have to have a rough idea of what the signal should be, and then you have to carefully set up your probes to be able to do this. I think I still have one of my probe connections set up for this. This is an example of what the probe clip mess can look like when you're trying to set up to probe something. So you have your pod here, and then you plug in one of your logic analyzer cables here, and then you can probe into this. But getting each pin set up correctly to go onto these clips, which then go onto the chip, is very time consuming to do correctly. So this is not a machine that you just willy-nilly set up and try and probe something with. You really have to have a use case and know what you're doing with it. Well, I am calling this a complete success, but there is one last thing that I want to do with it, and is put it back on the test mobile. So let me get it back over there and hooked up, and then it will be fully done. All right, now I can push it forward. Oh, there's a ton of space back here. Yeah, I can easily fit the VGA splitter back here. You can see how much space I have on the back of the test mobile, and I can easily put the splitter right there, and it even has a little ledge, so it's not going to fall over. This is kind of perfect, actually. I'm really happy with how this turned out. Boom. Gonna quickly run these through here, and then I can show you how the entire thing gets held in place. The whole thing gets held down with this strap that you just hook this loop onto here, pull it slightly tight. You need a little bit of slack, and then you can flip a little more slack, I would say. Then you flip this latch around, and I can release it and tip it back so that I can have it at a nice angle so that I can use it up against my workbench. All right, and here is the final setup and why, with the cart, this is so nice. So I have the unit here, I can reach it, I can do all of the testing and setup that I need, and I have the mouse and keyboard here if I want more direct control over things, but it's really hard to see, you're getting glares, and it's just not well suited for video. If you even go back to the Micronova debug stuff, I had to crop in really tight and you can barely see what's going on in there. But now I can hit one button and bam, extremely nice video capture. Well, that's gonna do it for this look on VGA modding and HP 16500B. Hopefully that was helpful to someone. And if it was, or you enjoyed this video, you may want to subscribe to the channel to be notified when I release another video. If you want to help support the channel, I'm on Patreon. But for now, that's it, and I will see you next time.